Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Valpo Football Preview, along with head coach Dave Cicchini. This is Todd Eichel, and we start with some happy news and a great way to start the week, Dave, off a great performance, I think, on Saturday on the road. Difficult weather conditions, good football team, and you guys kind of found a way to win that game. And obviously, the defense really shined, put in some difficult spots, short fields. And especially in the fourth quarter, they really came up big.
Yeah, it starts with turnovers. They did a great job. 4 interceptions. Time and time again, they rose to the occasion. And when you have a dominant defensive performance like that, when the weather starts turning bad and the confidence that you have in those guys, it spreads throughout the entire team. It was fun.
Another big week for Drew Stauffer. I mean, this kid is playing incredible football right now. We see him all over the field in previous weeks, but now he gets 2 picks, both humongous plays in the game, one leading to a Valpo touchdown, the other stopping a drive late in the ball game. And he has become, I think, not only an exceptional defense player for the Crusaders, but I think you look at it, he's got to be considered one of the top defense players in the league, at least by the way he's playing right now.
Statistically as well. He's one in the top 3 or 4 tacklers in the conference right now, and obviously the 2 interceptions were huge. So he just continues to improve with every passing game. It's fun to see him really grow from week to week and just keep getting better.
Dave, I've got to assume that this game was really rewarding from the standpoint that you've knocked on the door so many times, not only recent weeks, but you go back in each of the last 2 seasons on the road against difficult opponents, similar scenario where the game is right there and unable to close it out. And after 2 straight weeks where you didn't make the plays in the final 5 minutes of the game where you needed to, this time you did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I credit our players for really not quitting and not getting frustrated. And there was a lot of adversity on Saturday, a lot of fighting the weather and fighting a couple of bad calls and a couple of bad bounces and whatnot. And the kids did not quit, and they kept a great positive mental attitude, great attitude to carry them through the fourth quarter. And we talked the night before about we knew that we were getting better, but that hadn't necessarily been showing up in the wins-loss column. And we really talked about this is what we need to do to show to everybody else outside of our team meeting room exactly how far we've come as a team. And I think Saturday's result just kind of more validates just what our players knew that we could accomplish.
I love that you mentioned a couple bad bounces, because at least the best bounce of all was the ball that hit the top of the goalpost. And usually when it hits the crossbar, I think more often than not it goes through, unless it's square. And it hit on top of the crossbar and sort of went straight up in the air. And maybe the Lutheran gods were in our favor in that case, because when it hits that far up on the crossbar, it usually goes through. And it somehow didn't. And that kept you in front 21-18 instead of a tie game.
It's nice to have some of those bounces go our way too.
All right, now let's look ahead. And you're right into the fire now, because you're against the team which has shown through the first month of PFL play, they're the class of the league right now. And you look at this San Diego team, you look at the scores, and it may remind some people back to when Jim Harbaugh was there in 2005, 2006. They were outscoring their opponents by 40-plus points. And that was the most dominant, I think, PFL team over a 2-year span. And it almost looks like this San Diego team, you look at their scores at least, as dominant as that. Is that what you see?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is. And it's a team that really doesn't have any weaknesses. You look, they have a dominant offense. They can run the football and be dominant on the ground. They throw it all over the place and can be explosive. They can hit you with big plays. They can just grind out long drives. On the defensive side of the ball, they are equally as dominant against the run as they are against the pass. They don't blitz a lot because they don't have to. They get there with 4-man rushes and have physically been getting after opponents' quarterbacks, and just really nobody's been able to get anything going against them. So right now, they're the team to beat without question, and they're undefeated in the league schedule. But you're exactly right. They've been been dominant performances every single
Yeah,
time.
they played a fairly close game against Dayton, who's having an outstanding season. But over the last 3 weeks, they've outscored their opponents by over 40 points a game.
Yeah.
And that's obviously awfully good. And they went to Drake this past week, and we saw Drake 2 weeks ago.
Sure, yeah.
That's a talented team.
Yep.
And they just, it was never a game.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's amazing to watch those games. You know, you know a team like Drake, and they play Davidson, and so those common opponents that we've both faced to watch, and it's been amazing to see how they make these teams. You know, Drake's a pretty good football team, and they made them look like a really bad football team.
All right, let's talk about what you can do. Maybe it starts with the quarterback.
Sure.
Ryan Clark didn't play this past week. Jimmy Sewell played okay.
Mm-hmm.
How's Ryan progressing? What do you expect?
Yeah, I think Ryan's going to be okay for this game. You know, it's still, you know, we're early on in the week, but with Sunday, he was able to run. He was in a boot, you know, prior to us leaving for the Stetson game, and I think he's feeling better. So we'll see how the week goes. You know, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility but to see both of them, you know, in action on Saturday as well, depending upon, you know, exactly where Ryan's health is. But you know, Jimmy was able to step up and get another win, and that's great to see. So you know, so either one of those guys, whoever is back there, is going to need to play their best game of the season if we're going to have a chance.
I'm sure, though, you like the way things are progressing. You've played 4 PFL games. All 4 have been competitive. 2 wins, 2 losses. There certainly is a level of accomplishment in that you're not only winning games, but you're in every single game.
Yeah.
It's a different feel than it was a year ago.
Yeah, there's no quit in this football team, and again, we're still not a senior-dominant, senior-laden team. We've got a lot of young guys who just keep the improvement from week to week is there, and guys' confidence keeps building along with that, and it's nice to see that, you know, even with some injuries and guys down like Ryan go down, we've got a young guy who can step up and you know, be able to you know, keep the performance going at a relatively high level.
Well, you mentioned the young kids stepping up, and hey, let's you know, say it the way it is. The young kids are making most of the plays right now. You had 4 interceptions and 3 touchdowns on Saturday, and they're all by underclassmen.
Right.
And that's got to. For Valpo football fans, you've got to see the future right now.
Sure.
It's right in front of us.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, you know, again, had we been a little bit more established of a program, they may not have gotten those opportunities because there were upperclassmen that might have been there. But that's just you know, where we're at as a program. We're able to show off some of these guys that we really think are going to be great players. You know, maybe they're good players this year, but next year they're really good football players, and the sky's the limit. It really is.
All right, let's hope for a little more step forward this upcoming Saturday.
All right.
Tough test. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Todd.
For head coach Dave Cicchini, this is Todd Eichel. Thanks for joining us this week on Valpo Football Preview.